Love Finance is the Other F Word and want to support the show? Pick up some merchandise at financeistheotherfword.com.
As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, and as wonderful an attorney as I am, please do note that anything said in our show are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
So that was Miracle Man by Ozzy, and even though he was singing about Jimmy Swaggart, where a lot of you guys will remember Jimmy Swaggart in the 80s, he was a evangelist preacher who got caught with a prostitute, and then he came on television and he cried and he begged everybody to forgive him and the Lord to forgive him, and it was a big thing. My mother liked Jimmy Swaggart, and after he got busted, I think she still liked him and watched his show. So, of course, that was the song Miracle Man, but I picked it today because we're talking about Elon Musk. But we're talking about Elon Musk in a specific way. We've mentioned him about his transition from Twitter to X and what he's trying to achieve, but this is something that's been on my radar for over a year and a half and is coming to fruition in the way that I was concerned that it would come into fruition. And we are talking about Elon Musk. Real quick, I got Dragon, our pastor. I got X in the house. DL stopped by for a second. Leo stopped by for a second. I don't know if you guys are still in here. Joe, what's going on, you guys? And yeah, so let's talk about Elon Musk, you guys. Now, on Finances, the Other F Word, for those of you who might be new to my show, very quickly, I'll introduce myself real quick. My name is Mel O. I'm a certified financial planner and a licensed financial advisor. I'm the author of the book, Finances, the Other F Word, Another F Word to Love. I'm host of the podcast, Finances, the Other F Word. And obviously, I'm hosting the show, Money and Metal. Now, in episode 373 of Finances, the Other F Word that I released on March 31st of 2022, I brought up this very specific topic and my concerns around the topic. And when I put clips of the show on TikTok, I got massive blowback where people were calling Elon Musk a savior, that he was a saint, he was this really great guy, and he was going to save the world, and everybody was toting Elon Musk. And I was like, yeah, there's some bullshit going to happen with this, and you guys need to be aware. And now that bullshit is coming to roost. So let me just fill you guys in of what started happening. Now, we know that in February of 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Putin invaded Ukraine. All right. Now, this is a direct quote from Elon Musk. He says, quote, "I think I can be helpful in conflicts. I try to take a set of actions that are most likely to improve the probability that the future will be good. And obviously, sometimes I make mistakes in this regard. I do whatever I think is most likely to ensure that the future is good for humanity. Those are the actions that I will take." So remember that backdrop of what I just read to you. And I see, I think Tabor popped in. What's going on, woman? I always get up early on Wednesday to watch your shows, or listen to your shows, by the way. I usually get up at 5 every morning, but Wednesdays I get up at like 4:20, 4:30 so I can hear your show. So Elon Musk has SpaceX, and SpaceX has a branch that is Starlink. And Starlink is a network of basically different satellites that are able to project internet across 31 countries on Earth. And the ambition that Elon Musk and SpaceX has is to be able to beam internet to the entire world, which sounds, very altruistic. Currently, he has over 4,519 Starlink satellites that are orbiting the occupied orbital routes. So the thing that you need to know about orbital routes is that once they're full of traffic, they're full. Okay, so we think of like space as this massive, expansive thing where there could be so many satellites, but there is a range that satellites stay in to get optimum coverage. And so currently, he is occupying the most space in these orbital routes. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. So Starlink works from little portable terminals that have small antennas. And what they do is they catch the signals from the satellites that are beamed, obviously, from space to Earth, and as part of these constellation of satellites. And because there is no wires, and because there's no infrastructure needed, then basically you can provide internet to anyone, anywhere. And so Elon Musk has been providing Ukraine with this technology on the battlefield, which has allowed them to maneuver drones, which has allowed them to communicate with each other and to be strategic with their attacks and counterattacks with Russia. And it has also allowed this war from Ukraine to be the first war that's been streamed basically live via social media, with the exception of Vietnam, which was basically live streamed to the best they could at the time on television. It was the first war that came into our living rooms that we were able to see. And then, of course, we saw Desert Storm, for those of you guys who remember that. But this is the first time we've seen a war be able to be live streamed because of the communication that Elon Musk provides. Now, Putin attacked Ukraine on February 24th, and he immediately knocks out their power and internet connection, and then hacks into the modems that belong to tens of thousands of Ukraine's military, government, and civilians to gather intelligence. Now, this is what happens, right? This is part of war. And obviously, it's very strategic. So, Ukrainian Vice Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov, okay, you know what? I'm trying my best. Like, bear with me. Goes on Twitter and asks directly to Elon Musk to activate his Starlink satellites for use in Ukraine, because they have no internet, they have no way of communicating. All of their infrastructure has been blown out. And so Musk swiftly tweets back with his response, quote, Starlink services is now active in Ukraine, more terminals en route. Okay. And then Musk turns around and he ships batteries and terminals to Ukraine. And the batteries are high-powered batteries that store solar energy. All right. And so then the vice prime minister goes back on Twitter and says Starlink was here and thanked Musk. Okay. So he appeals to Elon Musk. Elon Musk sends him the terminals, and like the hero in a story, he sends them the information. Now, you know what you're sending them for. They're in a war, okay? Russia and Putin invaded them, and Ukraine is fighting a war with them. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand what they're going to use your satellites for. So keep this in mind, because this comes back to something that Elon Musk is saying now. Now, it is important to know that Starlink signals, once they are sent, they are trackable. Okay? So Musk is tweeting in real time how to use the terminals, how to stop Russian jammers from jamming the signals. Elon Musk is very aware that his technology is being used by Ukraine to get a leg up in the conflict with Russia. He knows what the fuck is going on. Okay, so with this Starlink technology, the prime minister is using it to make speeches like the fireside chats that we saw FDR did during World War II. Okay, I believe it was World War II, because because World War I was the beginning of the 1900s. World War II took us out of the Depression. So it was FDR, part of the New Deal. It was all around that time, and he would do the fireside chats via radio. And again, it has provided drone ability. It has provided internet connections. It has provided the ability to allow Ukraine to track Russian targets and tanks and be able to take them out. And it is allowing them to fire anti-tank guns at unseen targets with direct precision. Okay? This is what the technology that Elon Musk / SpaceX / Starlink has provided. And there's, sorry, I'm at the very tail end of my cold. We see that officers for Ukraine have been quoted as saying, we use Starlink equipment and connect the drone team with our artillery team. If we use a drone with thermal vision at night, the drone must connect through Starlink to the artillery guy and create target acquisition. Okay. Then this is all around like the start of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Musk, like a jackass, he challenges Putin to single combat. Like basically he's going to fight Putin on the playground. Like I can't make this up, you guys. This is the thing. This is at the beginning of the war, and I'm trying to set the scene for what's going on now. However, now, which we're going to get into in a little bit later, Musk is saying Putin just wants peace. And he has presented his own peace plan favoring Russia. Okay, so I want you guys to remember this, all right? Now, at the time when Elon Musk provided Starlink connections to Ukraine, the Kremlin viewed Musk satellites as a form of aggression, obviously because it was being used by the enemy to take out Russian targets. And they were saying that basically that he was interfering. And there has been ongoing conversations of whether Elon Musk should be able to provide Starlink to censored countries like Russia and China and North Korea. Okay? Because remember, we're talking about a private citizen. We're talking about a private citizen that has in his hands the ability to sway a war, the ability to sway and potentially upend different governments in different countries. So this is a big deal, okay? And now, originally when this happened, Musk was doing this out of his own free will, all right? And everybody was like, oh my God, he's saving the world, blah, blah, blah. But then about a couple weeks after my show aired, which was March 31st on Finance is the Other F Word, about middle of April, it came out that, in fact, the United States government was paying him. So he wasn't being altruistic. However, now it's just came out that Elon Musk forced them to pay them, okay, to the tune of about $400 million a year. So we're going to play a quick song, and then we're going to unpack this. But I want you guys to understand the timeline. Putin invades Ukraine. They appeal directly to Elon Musk. Elon Musk immediately sends over Starlink connections, which Starlink uses, there is used in Ukraine to target Russian targets, to use drones both day and night to navigate things and to keep the president or the prime minister of Ukraine in contact with his people to keep them, to keep their spirits up, okay? And at the very beginning, this was all of his free will. And then I started asking a lot of questions with this that are unfortunately starting to happen right now. So I'm going to play a quick song, which of course is going to be Personal Jesus by Marilyn Manson, because all of my songs typically have something to do with my topic. So here it is. So that song, the original or Manson's version, fucking great. It's just a great, great song. And so we are talking about Elon Musk. And real quickly, I see Trash in here. I think I've said hi to Leo. If I didn't say hi to Tabor, I think I did. Rich, now I know your name. That rocks. Great show this morning. Gramufa Bits, what's going on, babe? How are you doing? Super Kitty was in here for a second. Leslie, I hope the job is going well. And I think I said hi to DL already. So we are talking about Elon Musk's, actually the United States dependence on Elon Musk. And it gets really fucked up, y'all. Okay, so, but let's start with the questions I asked on that March 31st show. Now, remember when that show was released, I did not know that the United States was paying Elon Musk. Okay, so my questions were this: should America be held responsible for the actions of a private citizen? Now, the thing is that at the time, Elon Musk was providing Starlink for free at his own cost to Ukraine and challenging Putin to one-on-one combat, right? But now he's not so pro-Ukraine. And so there has been times where there has been mobile movement that, according to the Pentagon or the Pentagon officials, and all of this comes from a very, very elaborate New York Times article that I will give you the title of after we come out of our next song, because I got to pull it up while the song is playing. And I have my references from when I originally aired my show. So if you want any of the references, email me at mel@finances, the other F word, and I will send you all of my materials. So he was very pro-Ukraine. Now he's not so much pro-Ukraine. And according to Pentagon officials, there has been times where Ukraine has either said that this happened, that Elon Musk did this, or they think that they have proof that Elon Musk did this, but this came up as a factor, that they have been very near the front lines and doing either a counteroffensive on Russia, and Starlink has just been turned off, leaving them extremely vulnerable and without communications, making the Ukrainian soldiers have to move closer to the front line to get a signal to be able to communicate, to let everybody know that the signals are out and try to figure out what their next move is. So if you have a single person who goes into a war zone and starts adding technology that can contribute to the change of a tide of a war, and then that person, for whatever reason, decides that they no longer agree with the war and they stop doing it, is America responsible for that? Now, just so you understand, Elon Musk, he was born and raised in South Africa, then under apartheid, then he moved to Canada, then he moved to the United States, and now he is technically a United States citizen, okay? So this is important to know, because he is a United States citizen, and while he's not acting on behalf of the United States, he is currently acting in the best interest of the United States. Because on my prior shows, I've talked about how the money we're sending to Ukraine, even though it's $113 billion and counting, is still cheaper than getting into a war with Russia, specifically because you're talking about a really fucking large country and one of our arch enemies, okay? So he is working in our best interest, even though now we are paying him. But you're going to find out how that came about, and it's a bunch of fucking bullshit. Okay? Can this be used against America in the future by an enemy? That was a question I asked. So what if Elon Musk becomes the enemy? What if he decides that Putin is right, and he does things for Russia that ultimately go against the American people? Okay? Because the thing is that that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that he's aligning more and more with Putin, and that he specifically said that he is in regular communication with Putin. And he has tweeted that he has had conversations, and he has tweeted to the undersecretary, or not tweeted, he's talked to the Undersecretary of Defense, who has raised valid concerns with the intermingling that the United States and the dependence they have on Elon Musk. And Elon Musk has freely told him that he has one-on-one conversations with Putin on the regular, and he's in regular communications with them. Now, that doesn't seem like that aligns with the United States' interests, does it? Because Russia is not an ally. They are not an ally. I have nothing against the Russian people, but they are not our ally, right? Putin is not our ally. Okay, so can this be used against America in the future by an American? Well, that's kind of self-fulfilling. That's kind of what's going on right now. And then I even ventured to it, and I'm going to stand by this, even though this statement seems a little far-reaching. You remember in the days of castles, y'all? They had mercenary armies. And they have mercenary armies a lot in the Middle East, okay, where they are hired by us, they are hired by other people, and they're mercenary armies. Now, we're talking about, and I'm going to dig through, it's at the bottom of my notes, but I'm going to dig through it because I want you guys to remember this. At the time of this recording, Elon Musk is said to be worth $218.6 billion. Now, I've talked a lot on my show about the difference between $1 million and a billion and how big that is, and then a billion to a trillion and how big that is. So right now we only have billionaires. We don't have trillionaires, okay? We only have billionaires. But we see trillions come in when we talk about different aspects of the United States budget, all right? So we're talking about a gentleman who is worth by himself 2 point, whatever I just told you, I think it was 218.6 billion. I don't know. I've moved up on my notes now, so I don't know the exact dollar amount, but whatever I just told you, that's his current net worth. Okay. So what is to say that if Elon Musk would not raise his own mercenary army, and this might sound crazy, but there is a quote in here from Elon Musk that is going to floor you, that is not about this, but it is kind of about this. And if he is bending us over a barrel right now and forcing the United States to pay for stuff that he gave for free, that is government manipulation. And it's not one department, you guys. It's not one department. It's multiple fucking United States departments that are dependent on this man. This is scary shit. Now, we've seen historically that Rockefeller and Carnegie and JP Morgan have gotten involved in wars before, and I'm going to touch on that before. But let's just assume that this motherfucker did get a mercenary army. We're already intertwined in him with a lot of very sensitive departments and data in the United States. What happens? This is another question. What happens if Russia targets Musk's satellites? Is that an act of war against the United States? Or is that just a personal beef with an American billionaire? Okay. And my question is still valid because now we know at the time that I did this recording, we didn't know that they were paying them. However, now we are. So if for somehow Russia targets any of these satellites or does any type of damage, is that technically an act of war on the United States? Or is that them just damaging communications, which is part of war? I don't know. That's not my wheelhouse. That's not what I do for a living, okay? And should this just be taken as a triumph of capitalism, right? Like this man is a billionaire and he's created Tesla and he's created, the genesis of PayPal and, all of this other type of stuff. And yay, America, Merca, because, this gentleman has been able to provide this service to Ukraine that is literally changed in multiple times at least. We don't know how the war is going to end up, multiple times at least in favor of Ukraine, which again helps keep us out of the war. Okay, which is what we want to do because it's very expensive. And I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to mention it to you guys again. If you're history nerds and you want to see how a lot of these financial rules and regulations came about, you need to watch the History Channel's Men Who Built America. It is a 5-part series. It is about an hour and something each one. I have it on DVD. That is how much I love this series. And it goes through and it chronicles the underhanded bullshit that Carnegie did and Rockefeller did, who was devout Baptist, I believe, and was supposed to be, devout follower of God, and the underhanded bullshit that he did. And Ford and a whole bunch of people. And we see that because of this, antitrust laws came in and started having to break up the monopolies. But we've seen that the antitrust court cases that have happened right now, lately in our recent history, have been completely impotent. They've done nothing. They haven't been successful. They haven't broke up Disney. They haven't broke up any of the companies that they've tried to go after. And they were created as a result of trying to go after these massively rich tycoons. So again, Men Who Built America, I love that fucking show, but I'm a nerd. I watch documentaries all the time. And on top of this, Musk is not a normal vendor, right? So they had to form a contract after the fact. So this is basically what happened is that the undersecretary talked to, and I have his full name here, Dr. Colin Kahl, who is the Undersecretary of Defense, had to negotiate a contract with Musk after the fact, because this is what happened. Musk was like, I'm the hero, And he goes to Ukraine and he sets up Starlink and he helps them. Then he says, hey, you know what? I can no longer incur the cost of doing this. So the United States, you need to pay me or I'm going to pull out. Well, it is in the United States' best interest that Ukraine win. So what the fuck are we going to do? We're going to pay him, right? And based on the New York Times article, there was just an agreement reached this June, a contract to get involved with SpaceX and to provide the Starlink, the Starlink stuff to Ukraine. So basically he offered it until they were dependent on it. And then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm worth $218 billion, but there's no way that I can keep funding Ukraine. And all of this while he's telling the Undersecretary of Defense that he is in regular contact with Putin. And then he devises his own peace plan that he places on Twitter for a vote from his followers that gives Crimea control back to Russia. So we're seeing now that the United States had to lock into a contract because at any time, Elon Musk could have just said, fuck it. Fuck Ukraine. And not to mention that he is able to view what is going on in the war through the Starlink connections. And this will be a direct quote that I will bring up in a minute. So my question is, what happens if he becomes pro-Russian? So we had to, as the United States, get in a contract with this guy to make sure he doesn't shut off Starlink connections in Ukraine after the fact. And this is only one department that is involved with him. So I'm going to play a quick song. This is No Lives Matter by Body Count. And then we're going to get even deeper into the mire of the layers of bullshit that the United States is intertwined with this guy. So Trash is bringing up some good points, and I always love his insight. And the question that he asked, and this is a valid question, why would we depend on an individual to provide military equipment for free? That's true. But my question back is, why would he even offer to do it? Why? I mean, you're fucking Elon Musk. You can call anybody in the White House and you can be like, hey, look, you know, I got this technology and I want to provide it and I want you guys, you know, but I can't cover the cost or whatever. I mean, it's capitalism, right? But the danger in this is that he did it, and I think it was, Rich said, the thing is that it's not free. His power comes from dependence on him. It's not about money for him. It's not. I mean, he's rich, but in the manner in which he did it. So I completely agree with you, Trash. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, why would the United States expect it? Because he did it. And then he backdoored it. That's the thing that makes it so dishonest. Is that he could have came and said, hey, I'm going to do this. You're going to pay me XYZ money. Do we have a deal? Yeah, but he didn't. What he did was he was willing to give it for free when he was pro-Ukraine. But now that he's not as pro-Ukraine, now there's a situation where we need to pay him. And that is a conflict of interest. And that is what my major concern is. Whether the United States pays him now, money-wise, is a moot point. Right? But it's the manner in which he did it. And it is the increasing rhetoric that he's amping up for pro-Russia. What happens if he just says, okay, he has a contract with the United States now, but then for whatever reason, he's on the phone with his pal Putin and he knows where some military targets are and he just goes, oh my God, Starlink went down, sorry. And it gives Russia an advantage. That is working against what the fuck am I trying to say? What the United States wants. You guys know what I'm trying to say. Of what we're trying to achieve. It goes against our interests. So, I mean, you're not wrong, Trash. You're not wrong. But this is my problem that I have with it, okay? And he has the potential to track the war. He knows what's going on. He knows where the Ukrainian soldiers is. And like I said, there's going to be there's going to be a direct quote here that I'm going to use here in a moment. So Dr. Colin Kahl, who was the Undersecretary of Defense, is negotiating a contract with Musk after the fact. And Musk is telling him, oh, I'm so uncomfortable that my technology is being used to fight war. That I'm so uncomfortable that my technology is killing people. Okay? When we very first started this show, I read you the direct tweets from the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine directly appealing to Elon Musk for Starlink connections, and him very heroically coming in and saying, I've sent them and I'm sending extra batteries and, thank you so much. They're in a war. You know exactly what's happening. Now Elon Musk, being more pro-Putin, is telling the undersecretary, I don't know if I'm really comfortable with the fact that my technology is being used in a war. What the fuck did you think you were sending it for, motherfucker? We're not doing Reading Rainbow, right? Like, God damn it. We're fighting. They're fucking fighting each other, asshole. So, anyway, I'm sorry. That's my own frustration getting in there. So I'll get myself back to center real quick. So Musk basically said that he was, quote, uncomfortable with the way that his technology was being used. And he tells Kahl that as he was talking to Kahl on the phone, that he was on his laptop and, quote, could see the entire war unfolding through the map of Starlink activity. And then 3 minutes after that comment, that direct quote from Musk, Kahl says that Musk told him that he had a great call with Putin and that he was in regular contact with the Kremlin, with Putin. And in June, they finally reached a deal with SpaceX. So now let's back up a minute, all right? So Musk has said that it costs about $400 million annually to run Starlink. And we've already talked about how much he is worth, okay? Now, whether you think from a capitalism standpoint, I'm like, yeah, he shouldn't pay for that. But from like a decence of humanity, I'm like, you can't afford that, really, bro? Like, you can't make that happen. But again, this is where the conflict in my industry comes in. Like, I'm yay capitalism, but then I'm like, hey, don't fuck people, asshole. So it's this push-pull all the time. And so we saw throughout history that we've seen JP Morgan lent money to the Allies during World War I, and that Rockefeller had donated tons and tons and tons of money to the League of Nations, which ended up failing. We had George Soros, and he gave money to civil society reform in post-Soviet Europe. And then here in Vegas, we have Sheldon Adelson, who is a big casino mogul here. He is the owner of, or was, I don't know if he's sold now, I think of the Venetian and a couple very big, maybe Bellagio, but he is a big casino mogul, and he was, and he's Jewish, and there's, a Sheldon Adelson Jewish school here, and he funded tons and tons and tons of media in Israel in support of Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, so we see that we have had millionaires involved in politics in one form or another. But as I pointed out before, we're talking about a private citizen that is providing a vital service now of communication in a war that it is in America's best interest that they win, right? Now, here's where shit gets a little bit deeper. SpaceX is currently the sole means by which the United States astronauts go from Earth into space. We have defunded NASA, you guys. So what happened is that with SpaceX, and I'm going to get down here to it in a minute, but I'll touch on it so we can stay in the stream of consciousness. SpaceX was launching rockets, and the FAA said, look, it's not safe the way you're doing it, where we have people exposed on the ground, and you are not cleared to launch. And Elon Musk calls up the head of the FAA, and he's like, you know what? Your rules are outdated. Your models are old. I think this is bullshit. This doesn't make any sense to me. And the FAA gentleman told him, you are not cleared to launch. You're not cleared to launch. And he did anyway. And the rocket crashed to the ground and exploded. Now, nothing around around the area was destroyed, but he was in complete violation of the FAA. Well, they didn't charge him with a penalty because the man's rich, so it would be like, throwing out pocket change. But what they did was they grounded him for, a period of 3 to 4 months. And SpaceX, we see that they did about, I think it was, if I remember reading, 3 to 4 rocket launches that all destroyed. And it was the very last rocket launch that they could afford to do. And supposedly, according to Elon Musk in an interview, SpaceX would have been broke, supposedly. But it was successful. And so the government said, okay, awesome. You were able to launch the rocket completely. And so we're going to give you a contract with NASA to the tune of, NASA gives SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract to resupply the International Space Station as a way to break the reliance on Russian crafts. Okay, so there's that thing. Now, on top of this, the FAA, I'm sorry, let me back up. Well, there's 2 times that Elon Musk has successfully, well, more than 2 times, but there's 2 times we're talking about today that he has successfully lobbied and changed regulations within the United States. Okay. One of them was with the FAA. He was like, hey, your models are outdated, blah, blah, blah. And so they are consulting with him on new regulations. Okay, so he has an input in the way that the regulations that will be put in place, which no doubt will be to his advantage. Okay, and remember that he's not the only billionaire in the space race. We have Bezos, right? We have Branson. All of these people are creating all of this space stuff, and it makes me think, as a tree hugger, what about space junk? Right? We have all these, not all these, but we have 3 private citizens that we know of putting shit into the atmosphere. You never know when that's coming back. Maybe it never comes back, but maybe it does. And it starts landing on Earth. You see what I'm saying? So there's just a whole bunch of stuff that the United States can't really control right now because we are a capitalist country. And yay, people with the money, right? But it's concerning. The second time that Elon Musk has successfully lobbied the Biden administration, this is very frustrating, so Elon Musk has a big swath of charging stations across the United States for electric vehicles. And he is eligible for $1 billion in subsidies, provided that those charging stations have the ability to charge cars other than Tesla. Now, the Biden administration wanted to come up with a standard of, this is what needs to happen if you're going to have a charging station. Here's this protocol that you need to follow for whatever reason, whether it's safety, whether it's, cap on money, whatever. And Elon Musk is like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So he successfully lobbied the Biden administration to not make the changes and not create a standard. And this is a man who currently holds the monopoly on the charging stations in the United States. Now, again, is this a victory of capitalism? Like, yay, good for him. Like he reinvented the electric car where everybody loved it, kind of like Ford did with the assembly lines back in the day. And then he, built the accessories for the electronic cars, and, good for him. He deserves all his billions of dollars because he's making the world a better place. Or is he specifically using his power to create more wealth and dependence on him? So just like I talked about Starlink, if Starlink is providing the internet connection to Ukraine, if Elon Musk decides he doesn't want to do it anymore, even though he has a contract with the United States, he'll just turn it off. So what happens if the majority of the charging stations are in the United States and electronic vehicles become the new norm, and then he decides for whatever reason he wants to turn them off? Or he only wants Teslas to be able to charge, or whatever. Do you guys see what I'm saying? And I talk a lot on my show about the dangers of monopolies, because if you don't keep an eye on monopolies as they start coming, then you're going to wake up one day and it's going to be there. It's going to be there already. And I've talked about like Disney. Disney currently has over 40% of the entertainment market. And they had an antitrust lawsuit that failed. So they're just going to get bigger. Of course they are. Of course they are. And capitalism, again, yay, right? So the Department of Defense, the Department of Defense, the Department of Transportation, the Federal Aviation Administration, I just talked about that, and the Occupational Safety and Health Administration has said Musk's influence has become inescapable in their work, and now they are being forced to treat him as a pseudo-unelected official. Now, the writer of this New York Times article was speaking to a Pentagon spokesman. The Pentagon spokesman told the reporter that he was in regular communication with Elon Musk and telling Elon Musk what the New York Times reporter was asking him. And that if Elon Musk had not given permission for him being the Pentagon official to talk to the writer, the Pentagon official would not have spoken to him. That's the Pentagon. That's the Pentagon, you guys. Damn it. Read this article. It is long as fuck. But I'm going to be playing one more song here in a second as I wrap this up, and I will give you the name of the article, and you guys need to read it because it was so intense and so frustrating that I had to put it down. I could only read like 3 paragraphs at a time, and I'm like, let me put this down because I'm about to punch people in their face. And then I would, go do something and, look at a tree or something, and then I would come back and I'd pick it back up and I'd start reading it again, and I'm like, motherfucker, okay? So, in a podcast interview last year, Musk was asked directly whether he has more influence than the American government. And his reply was immediate, and he said, quote, "in some ways." That terrifies me. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't know if you think maybe I'm overshooting it or whatever, but that statement frightens me. So that's an awareness. That's not even, you know what I'm saying? And now I've just told you that we've had multiple departments that are concerned about Musk's influence, and they are updating Musk on private things like a pseudo-elected official. That shit's nuts to me. So we're going to play the last song, and we're going to come back and talk about the X platform and what happens if that goes off the way that he thinks that he wants it to go off, and how vulnerable that makes us. And then we're going to start wrapping up, and I am going to check on chat and get caught up. So this is, of course, Peace Sells by Megadeth. Coming out of that guitar solo, I cannot wait to the part where Dave starts singing "Peace sells, but who's buying?" Oh my God, I scream that my headphones are so loud right now. Let me turn them down. So I have Sage in the house. What's going on, babe? I don't think I've ever seen you in here. Welcome. Thank you. Rich had to dash out. Good to see you. And mentioned that, yep, I will, I will put the title of it in here right now. And I know I said hi to Graham, and I don't know if I said hi to Dream. So let me get you guys the actual title of the article right now, because of the fact that I really, really want you guys to read it. So it's from the New Yorker, and the title of it is Elon Musk's Shadow Rule. So I'll drop that in AMP real quick. Elon Musk's Shadow Rule. It's eye-opening. Oh, yeah. Okay, Trash, thank you. Trash got it for me. Oh, you just found my show. Thanks, Sage. I appreciate that. So we've been talking about Elon Musk. And so I wanted to kind of wrap this up. Now, for those of you who still have Twitter on your phone, which I have taken it off, you notice that the icon changed from the little bluebird, white and blue logo to X. And what Elon Musk is he's done a couple things. He's getting rid of the block button. So for trolls that are on, Twitter/X, he's going to just let them have free reign. He's removed the block button. The only time he's going to allow you to block people is in DMs. So he's removed that. But what he's trying to do with X is he's modeling it after a Chinese app where he's calling it the all-in-one app. So what he wants to be able to do is he wants you to be able to do your banking on it. He wants you to be able to buy and sell things on it. He wants you to be able to do merchant services on it. He wants you to be able to post as social media. And the thing that I got very concerned about is, so when cryptocurrency came around, the whole point of cryptocurrency originally was to bypass the intermediary, which was the banks. Okay. So that was the original antithesis of cryptocurrency. Now, the thing is that you guys have to know that when the Fed controls the monetary policy of the United States, when they either loosen it or they tighten it, which I'm not going to get into on this show, but I've talked about a lot. So if you listen to my show, you'll understand exactly how they do this. They use the banks as the intermediary to do this. Now, if we do, in fact, go to the digital dollar, which I've talked about on a couple shows back, that's not cryptocurrency. That's the digital dollar. It's the dollar. It has the parity of the dollar, but in digital form. If we go on the digital dollar, then there's a way that they can bypass the banks, but it is still the Fed controlling the United States monetary policy and bypassing the banks and then getting money directly to the people. So that is one of the things, and it was called helicopter or something. I can't remember. It's in my notes that I have from a couple shows back. However, if Elon Musk does be successful in creating this all-in-one app, could his creation of this app that's going to give loans and do that stuff, could it upend the banking system? Or would the banking system have to fall in line with the app? And I know that this is a little sci-fi stuff, but we're seeing that with technology, so many things are coming online that are enabling people to have more and more control over stuff. And this is just something that's happening. Now, as of the time of this recording, the United States has not disclosed the agreement, the details of the agreement between SpaceX and the United States government. And will they probably ever do it? They won't. But let's throw another little stitch into this as we wrap up. So there is a facility in Shanghai that produces half of all of the Tesla cars that come over here to market. And so as a result of that, of course, Elon Musk has went over and has had to garner favor with Chinese politicians. And he has said that when he goes over there, he's treated like royalty. It's all flattery and fanfare. Now, Elon Musk told the Undersecretary of Defense in that phone call that Call got the impression, let me say it correctly, Call got the impression that Elon Musk was trying to placate Russia because Russia was very pissed off that he was providing Starlink services. And at the beginning of the war, it didn't matter, right? When he's wanting to fight him and shit, but now it matters all of a sudden. And so that's what his concern was. And so by getting put under contract, now Elon Musk can be like, oh, they're just paying me for a job. It's nothing personal. But remember how I kept telling you that China and Russia are allies. And during this Ukraine conflict, we've seen that China came out with indirect support for Russia. So Elon Musk is over in China on the regular talking to the diplomats because a half of all of his Tesla cars are produced over there. And China, of course, is also not considered an ally of the United States, and they have more and more are aligning their views and their politics with Russia. And remember, on a couple shows ago, I talked to you about how Biden had just restricted new investments not all new investments, some new investments into semiconductors and refused to, or at not letting new money go into China to support their new technologies and to prevent them from getting more mobile military mobilization. So China's not happy with us as a government already, and they've come out and, blah, blah, blah. And, this is conflict through the global stuff. But again, I'm going to remind you, the United States is the largest economy in the world. China is the second largest economy of the world. If we find ourselves in a position where we are more and more reliant of the whims of one man to get our space exploration, from here to there, or to provide us with an app that's going to do everything that could technically, in a sense, upend the banking system. And we have a push for electric cars, and we've given this gentleman a monopoly on the charging stations that are through the United States. This is extremely dangerous. Okay, so this is what the show was about. If you guys did not catch it all, or you want to, re-listen to it, feel free to play it on the replay. I don't know what I'm going to talk about on Friday. It just kind of pops up. He's going to consolidate and put an X on his back. Yeah, maybe. I think you're talking about like the Scarlet Letter trash. Is that what you're talking about? Muskrat. I love that, actually. And Gramufa Bit, Robber Baron. I don't get the comparison. I don't know who Robber Baron is. Educate me real quick, Graham, if you're still on here. And let's see. Oh, Alien popped in. Hey, girl, how are you doing? And Haseen, hey, how are you doing? Devil is still here for a second. We're living in and future might is terrifying. Yes, Sage, that is true. So I'm going to bounce off. I've had you guys for a little over an hour. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. If you guys need the references, please let me know. If not, at the bare minimum, skim the New York article. Oh, got it. Okay, thank you, Trash. I appreciate that. Okay, got it. Okay, I've never heard that term before. So thank you, Gramufabits and Trash. Oh, hey, Hija. So Hija does not like him either. So high five to that girl. So anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and listening to about money and the things that are going on. And I want to talk about more personal things that can help you in your financial journey, but I feel like I'm just talking about the same things over and over. So I was thinking of doing a question and answer show, but I don't necessarily know if anybody would ask me any questions, and then I might just be sitting there with my thumb up my ass for an hour. So if you guys decide that that's important to you, I will sit here for an hour and answer your questions that are as specific to your situation as you can give me the details on within your comfort level. Obviously, I don't want you to be overplaying. So Trash says we would. So maybe on Friday, I'll have a couple backup stories, but I'll just do a Q&A. So if you're trying to get feedback on something, or you're looking at something to how to improve your individual situations, or maybe what you can do is you can just DM me on Instagram, and then I will answer the question on the air without saying who it's for, so that I can give you as detailed information as I possibly can without making you feel a little bit exposed. So with that, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you again so much for hanging out with me. Seriously, I do, because I know that my topics are, not along the normal metal line, but you guys rock. I appreciate you. Have a great hump day. And with that, Amp, I am out. This bitch.
Thanks for listening. If you like us, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.